Hello and welcome, fellow bookworms and film fans. Welcome to this week's episode of The Contented Narrative, where I will be looking at The Borrowers, written by Mary Norton and published in 1952. It was then adapted to screen in 1997, 2010 and 2011. Now, they're all very lovely films, but I will be looking at the 1997 version. Now, obviously, I'll be looking at three things, as I always do. I'll be looking at how good is the book, how good is the film, and how good does the plot take from the book. So, the film. So this film is just fun, it's childish, and I absolutely love it. The villain is such a characteristic of a villain, rather than an actual villain. He's just sort of a hammed up kind of, over the top version of a villain, which is absolutely hilarious. I mean, John Goodman playing an evil an evil lawyer who's trying to take this house away from this family is just honestly brilliant to watch. You also have the exterminator as well, he's not bad, he's just doing his job, and then he realises that, what he's exterminating is little people, and he ends up switching sides and becoming like a helper, as it were, to the young boy, which is quite sweet. You also have the casting is truly wonderful. It's got Tom Felton, it's got Draco Malfoy in it as a little teeny tiny pea green, which it's so funny. In fact, to be fair, it's also got, quite a few characters that, quite a few actors from the Harry Potter universe are actually in this film as well. So it's just all round, the casting works, the characters work. It's just a fun little romp of sort of like the bad guy, the good guys, and it's just, it is what it is as a film. And I love the concept of little people, like little borrowers living underneath your floorboards, and whenever you can't find something, it's because they've borrowed it. Because, that actually helps me a little bit, because I've got terrible memories. So for me, I'll put something down and I'm like, okay, where did I put that? In a safe place. So the idea that these people are actually borrowing and you're not actually going crazy is a brilliant idea. And I would honestly recommend this film to anyone. It's a lovely way to kill a couple of hours. It's not that long, it's like an hour and a half. And it's just such a feel-good film, and you get the conclusion that you want, and you get the story that you want, and then you know how it's going, but it's still well told. So it gets a 7 out of 10 for me. Now, the book. This book is honestly a amazingly endearing story. So it tells of a sick boy who makes friends with borrowers, and he's sick. He's not got any friends, and this one little girl, like the borrower family in the book is parents and a child and nothing else. So this child feels like she's lonely and everything like that. So she makes friends with the boy, and then the two fates kind of become entwined as it goes along, and it's such a sweet telling of a story, because it's the borrowers learning the humans' ways and the humans learning the borrowers' ways. And considering it was written in 1952, this book has aged absolutely brilliantly. I mean, it teaches of like trying to understand, because the borrowers believe that the human beings are here to serve them, and the human beings believe that anyone that's like little is basically can be trodden on. So it's really a story of sort of like understanding each other and understanding each other's culture, as it were, which can be adapted to any generation, to be perfectly honest. And I thoroughly enjoyed the story. It was delightful, it was magical, in its own little way, and you don't have to be a child to read this. You can be an adult, as I was when I read it for the first time, and it's such a sweet and easy read that, if you're looking to kill a couple of hours, an afternoon, pick it up, have a read. It is so sweet. So the book gets a 7 out of 10 as well for me. So the plot. Now, the book starts with Mrs. May telling a young lady about the borrowers who her little brother encountered when he was a sick child. So now we know who the sick child was. But the film starts with the little boy setting traps because he knows things are going missing, but he doesn't know what or who is taking them. So the family of borrowers is mum, dad, daughter, son, and family of beings. I keep saying beings because that's what they're referred to, obviously, as beings, but I prefer beans. So mum, dad, daughter, and family of beings in the book, whereas in the film it's mum, dad, daughter. Sorry, let me try that again. So the family of borrowers is mum, dad, daughter, son, and family of beings in the film, and mum, dad, and son in the film. In the book, the family of borrowers is mum, dad, and daughter, and the family of Beans is mum, dad, 2 daughters, and a son. The 2 daughters we don't really see. We hear about sort of later on in the book. So in both, we get introduced to the borrower's family who live below the floorboards. In the book, however, only Pod, who's the dad, goes out. In the film, Pod goes out with Arrietty and Pea Green. So obviously Arrietty is the girl and Pea Green is the boy. Now in the film, they live in the house, but it's being evicted because the aunt apparently did not make a will, passed away, and so now the lawyer's going, well, there's no will, so it's not left to you, so it basically falls to us. However, this is not true. The lawyer's lying. He is a villain. So then one night, Arrietty goes into the boys' room before they kind of get evicted, and she is seen. Now, apparently being seen by a human being is honestly the worst thing that could happen. But she has a conversation with him and finds out that he's actually not all that bad. Now, there is no eviction in the book. It's just a sick little boy who sees Pod as he's borrowing and kind of doesn't quite believe what he's seen, but would like to know more about Pod. So we do find out that there used to be loads of borrowers. Now, we find this out in both the film and the book. There used to be loads of borrowers in the house, but they slowly dwindled till only the Clock family was left. They call the Clock family because they live below the clock. So in the book, she's finally allowed out to borrow, and she's seen by the boy outside, and this is where they then strike up their friendship. In the film, the boy now knows about the whole family and is helping the Clocks as he doesn't want them to lose a home, so he's moving them to the new house with him. So then in the book, Arrietty strikes up a conversation, becomes friends with the boy, lets him know all about borrowing. The boy lets her know all about, being a human being, as it were. At this point in the film, Arrietty and Pea Green have fallen out of the moving truck and gone back into the house that they were being evicted from. They then see the lawyer finding the will that he claimed didn't exist so that he can tear down the house. So they then steal the will from the lawyer, which causes the lawyer to hire an exterminator because he's like, there's little people. So in the film, there's then a game of cat and mouse with the 2 children, the lawyer and the exterminator. So also as well in the film, the little boy is now cycling back to the old house so Pod and Homily can find their children. So in this book, so at this part in the book, Arrietty sneaks out to find the boy and to see if he can find more borrowers, because she's been told that borrowers have moved out to the countryside, they're emigrated to a little badger hole or a foxhole. So she writes a letter and asks the boy to deliver it to the family. And then he delivers it and he brings back a reply as well for her. Now in the film, the children come across another borrower who helps, called Spike. And at this point, the boy and the parents have caught up with the kids, and they're at a milk factory, or milk bottling factory. So in the book, Pod finds out about the friendship between Arrietty and the boy and causes panic as he fears that they will hunt, that this boy will hunt for the home under the floorboards, and Arrietty's put everybody at risk. Now in the film, the boy saves the Clocks when they get captured by the lawyer and almost killed with cheese. Death by cheese, there are worse ways to go. And in the book, the boy knows where the house is, but he's now bringing, items from the doll's house for them, and little harpsichords and little things to make their little home a lot nicer. So in return, Arrietty will read to him and help him in return. So in the film, it's become a race between the lawyer and the boy to get to the will. So the lawyer has the will and he's now going to demolish the house, and the boy and the exterminator is chasing after him to try and get to them before he does so. So then you get a showdown in the film between a very, very, very many borrowers. All have seen bright ginger hair, and the lawyer. So it ends with the lawyer being arrested. And the will is then given to the little boy and the house is saved. Now in the book, the housekeeper starts noticing the trinkets that are disappearing that the boy is giving to the Clocks. So she begins a mission, finds the home, destroys it, and tries, so the boy is now trying to help the Clocks. However, Homily is kicking up a fuss. He gets caught trying to move them and is sent to his room and he never sees them again. But we know that they then emigrate and end up living with a family off in the countryside. So the boy is shipped off to India again. The housekeeper is brought in a rat catcher, and the police try and rid her of the borrowers. Now the book ends with the clocks going to live in the Badger set with some relatives, and the film ends with the family moving back into the house and the boy helping the borrowers live a little easier, as it were. So as I'm sure you're aware, through reading that, it's almost like I was saying two different stories there, because it is. The only thing that's slightly similar is the fact that you've got Pod, Homily, Arietti, and you've got a little boy. That's it. That's literally it. Like, the characteristics are completely different. The dynamic is different. The little boy is different. In fact, to be fair, I might have been able to get a closer adaptation if I'd have compared the book to the 2010 film Arietti by Studio Ghibli. Now that film is very, very close to this book, and honestly that film is, oh my god. Studio Ghibli though is an amazing animation like studio, and honestly all their films are phenomenal. So yes, have at that film, as it were. So, you know, the villain isn't the same, the time period isn't the same, the reason that they get caught out isn't the same, how they make friends isn't the same. So honestly, although both the film is a lovely film and it's just hilarious to watch, and the book is beautiful, they are two completely different stories. So it gets a 2 out of 10 for the plot for me. Now, obviously, this is my own opinion. Of course, I am happy to hear if you agree or disagree with anything that I've said. Don't forget to click subscribe and like as well, so you're informed whenever a new video goes out. And join me next week for my contented narrative. But until then, remember to always keep it contento.